Next up, we have Helix Resources. The ASX code is HLX, and Helix has a market cap of approximately 7 million. Helix Resources is a minerals exploration company focused on the development of Collerina copper and Cobar gold projects in central New South Wales. Presenting for the company today is Kylie Prendergast, Executive Technical Director. Kylie, welcome, and please take it away.
Thank you, Manny. All right, well, we're still staying in metals, following on from Hank's talk, but we're switching across to copper now. So we need copper. I mean, I think everyone's pretty much in agreement on that. And Helix is, we are focused very strongly on copper. Next slide, please. And we're sitting quite a bit further down in the pathway as well. We are very much focused on discovery of copper. We've done an awful lot of work over the last couple of years to really set us up for discovery. We've still got $4 million in the bank, and we've got a lot of targets that we are lining up for drilling. Next. And where should we be doing that? But Cobar. So Cobar is a prolific copper region. It's got quite a long history, and there's a whole bunch of operational mines around us. The largest in the area is the CSA mine, which was recently acquired by the Metals Acquisition Corp. Next slide. And there are a whole bunch of plants here. So not only are we sitting right in the middle of an area full of towns, sealed roads and power, but there are 6 operating mines around us, generally within sort of 50 or so kilometres from our projects. This gives us really good pathways and a lot of optionality with our projects. Next. So we are holding about 2,900 square kilometres of ground, and within that ground there are 3 key geological trends that we are focused on. All up, that makes about 150 kilometres that we are exploring along, and we're very much focused on copper, and we are solely in this Cobar region. Next. And this is the process of exploration and discovery. So you line up a big pile of targets, you prioritise them, you advance them, and you drill them. And the real measure of an exploration company is how many they are drilling and turning over. And you need to be doing this in somewhere prospective, and that's why we have chosen this Cobar area. Next. So I see these as sort of the 3 really sort of value propositions for Helix. Firstly, we do have a high-grade copper resource. That's the Camballigo resource, which is located sort of in the west. And secondly, we've got a lot of prospects and targets. So we've done an awful amount of work over the last couple of years to line up all these projects ready for drill testing. All up, there's about 40 copper targets, and there's also a couple of gold targets. And thirdly, we're not just about copper. We also do have a nickel cobalt project. And this is a consolidation around an existing resource that we have, and we are looking to spin that out into an IPO. Next. So I'm just going to delve into sort of this particular Rochford trend, which is one of our western areas, just so you can sort of get an idea of how we're approaching our discovery process. So this is the trend that has the Camballigo copper deposit, and we've flown airborne geophysics, and now we're busy working on ground geochemical data. And we are looking for these structurally controlled copper deposits. As I mentioned, a really good example is the CSA deposit. And this is a big deposit. It's got an endowment of about 2 million tonnes of copper and spectacular grades, 5 or 4% copper, which are excellent. So it's good to have aspirations. And this is our aspirational goal, is if we could find a CSA, we'd be pretty happy. So far, we've got the resource at Camballigo, but you can see that there's just a whole host of other copper occurrences all up and down these big trends, and that's what we are focused on exploring. Next. So just zooming in a little bit on Camballigo, this is very much an advanced project. It's a joint venture between ourselves and Eris. And thus far, we have a resource on what we call the main lode, which is the western part. We've identified about 30,000 tonnes of copper. And we've really just been working quite solidly on this over the last couple of years. Next. And within that period, so this project was sort of sitting quietly for a while, we have increased that contained copper in that deposit by about 77%. Thus far, the deposit has been delineated down to about 600 metres. And these things have quite small surface footprints. So this one's only about 300 metres long, but it extends down. They're like big, long pencils. So a little bit trickier to find because they have a small surface footprint, but they can have great vertical extents. So the CSA deposit, for example, goes down to nearly 2 kilometres depth. Next. And during our sort of delineation of the main lode, we have identified some parallel zones to the west. These are quite small at this stage, but they do have high grades. And what we need to understand is whether they develop into bigger lodes at depth and whether there might be more repeat lodes. And this is a really common feature in the CSA style deposit. Next. Now, geochemistry has been all we've talked about for the last 6 months at Helix. We're very active collecting a whole geochemical layer set over those regional trends. We use auger drilling. Here's the guys here collecting the samples, which we send off for a full multi-element analysis. This means that we will find the copper, but we might also find something else. And we've certainly delineated some other gold targets doing this. Currently, we've got about 1,000 samples in process. And next. And this is what we get. So this is a lovely image of copper. You can see the Camballigo project there with its nice little red anomaly. And as I said, this is a big, long structural zone. So what we're doing is we're looking for more deposits along this structural zone. I'm going to use 2 as an example. In the north, there's the Black Range project. And in the south, I'm going to show you a picture of the Bijou project, which we'll be drilling soon. Next. So Black Range is a 6-kilometre zone of copper anomalism. It does have some old workings on it, and there was no drilling here. So we've put the first drill holes into this project. Next. And so here's a recent release we put out in about October. As I mentioned, 6-kilometre anomaly. We've done a first drilling into the area where the old mining shafts were. And we do know that there will be other targets in this area, and we'll keep working on those targets to see where might be the best place for some follow-up drilling. But it is a sizable anomaly, and we haven't quite worked out where the best part of it is yet. Next. And here's a great one. This is the Bijou project. We've done a bit more geochemical work through here, and it really elevated this project for us. At surface, its scale and tenor is very similar to what we saw at Camballigo. There is a 2-kilometre long anomaly here. 5 historical drill holes, but they really haven't tested the best parts of the anomaly. And we are hoping to be drilling here in the next week or 2. Next. Now, moving across to the eastern side of our tenement, this is basically directly along strike of Helix Resources projects. They've got a nice deposit there called Constellation, amongst others. Constellation is sort of their most recent discovery, which they discovered with geophysics. And we sit along trend from their deposits. So we've been, as part of our process, we've been working our way through our exploration targets. We tested 5 targets in the north, and we've turned those over. They're not prospective. We've tested 1 in the south, and it still needs more work. And in the southern part, I think that will be our focus next year. So we've got our advanced CZ project with really, really nice grades in it, 5-6% copper. And in that area, there are more geophysical and geochemical targets, and we will work to put those together and bring them along and prioritise them for drilling. This is also the area that holds our ionic metals project. the Homeville nickel cobalt laterite resource, and there's a consolidation story which we will hear more about in coming months. Next. And this is us. We're out to discover, and we have a very systematic process. We're driving it quite aggressively. We have a team of geologists in the field, on the ground, and we will keep drill testing and either kill or advance those targets. Next. We have a market cap of about 7 million, and we're currently still sitting with 4 million in the bank, so we can still afford to keep exploring. Next. And this is our news flow. So in November, we should be drilling at Bijou shortly. That is the plan. We will have an update out soon with some of our new geochemical results, and that will reprioritise some areas for further drill testing moving forwards. And we do expect an update on the ionic metals nickel cobalt strategy. December will be ongoing, and in December, I think we'll sort of really line up all the targets for next year's drilling campaign. Next. And look, we're absolutely poised for discovery. We de-risked the project a lot with all the data sets that we've acquired over the last couple of years. This provides an opportunity for investors to be leveraged against copper, which is certainly a fundamental commodity. We have an exploration team on the ground, and I can assure you they're absolutely focused on bringing projects through to drilling. Next. Thank you.
Kylie, thank you for that. You're right about that. Copper's an interesting space right now, and will be going forward. A couple of questions. I will start with one which is around the technical side. So obviously you're an exploration company. That's your reason. You're hard at it, and you've been doing a lot of drilling. The question is around what, and you've mentioned there are obviously other companies around you. What are you doing differently in terms of your approach to exploration, your analysis, and the technical aspects of your exploration? How are you differentiating yourself perhaps from what's been done before in the area? Are you using new techniques? What's your advantage, do you think?
Yeah, so probably something I didn't mention in here is that a lot of these areas are being sort of explored properly for the first time. So there's been a lot of exploration focused on that western side, that Cobar trend. And the areas that we hold, even though they're recognised as sort of big structural trends, have seen very limited exploration. And probably one of the game changers is the use of that airborne geophysics. I mean, we're not the first to use it, but we're the first to use it on these areas. And it certainly worked really well for Eris. Their deposits have shown up really well with that geophysics. And our occurrences also show up quite strongly in that geophysics. So that's probably one of the main technologies. We've also got a very experienced project generation group who have been looking at, like, not just our ground, but the bigger picture as well, and the ground around. And really, we've done new mapping, and we're sort of reinterpreting the geology of the area. So I hope to be able to talk about that more next year. But yeah, we're really trying to put the story together, and the geophysics would be the key technique there.
Okay, and maybe going to a little bit of neurology. How does for example, the Cambalego deposit, which there's clearly copper there, you have a resource, but
yep.
How does that compare? How does the metallurgy, the deposit itself, how does it compare to perhaps other deposits that you see in the area or close by?
We haven't done metallurgical testing, but mineralogically we know it's chalcopyrite. It is a classic. It looks exactly like all the other deposits, sort of from a mineralogical geochemical point of view. So we don't expect any concerns with the metallurgy. It really is going to come down to size, and the great advantage we have here is realistically you're not going to build another plant. Okay, so there's plants all around, and that just gives you an awful lot of optionality in terms of a processing pathway for any of those deposits we might find, whether they're big or small.
Great, thank you. And this actually probably leads into this next question, which is, you know, have you been in discussions with others? What is the outlook in the area for M&A? Have others, indicated interest in Helix? Like what, anything along those lines?
It is a good question. And people have been talking about a consolidation in the Cobar area for some time. We're obviously in Metals Acquisition Corp. Now they are there, and people have talked about what their strategy might be in the Cobar. And we are absolutely willing to be part of anyone's strategy. And in the meantime, I mean, we've got there's 40 copper targets there. And I mean, some of them may not be worth testing, but certainly a good proportion of those are, they have real prospectivity for new copper discovery. And so we'll just keep working at it.
Great. One question that's come in is around you made a comment, I believe, on a potential IPO for the non-copper assets. The question is around what is the potential timing or likely timing for an IPO? It will likely be an in specie, yes or no?
Oh, that's a good question. I think if I could just ask, holding off on that answer for another couple of weeks, I think we will have an announcement out in the next couple of weeks on that. And it's a good strategy. We've focused very much on when you look at that nickel cobalt project, it's got good grade. Like it's actually one of the higher grade nickel cobalt laterites in the area. It's not very big. But there is a real opportunity to grow that resource because we can see in the magnetics sort of where all those serpentines are and where those nickel laterites would have developed. So we can see a really big potential nickel cobalt laterite footprint there. So we think we can get the scale, and there should be an announcement in another couple of weeks.
Great, thank you. All right, well, thanks for your time today, Kylie. It was great to hear the story, and have a great weekend, and hopefully we see you back soon.
Thank you very much.